All right, well, welcome back to Trapping Tuesdays. Today we're going to be talking about staking systems, the ones that we use, where we use them, why we use them, and why we might not use them anymore. So I'm going to lump two of these together, and those two I'm going to lump together are going to be Berkshires and Wolffangs. There's like 3 or 5 different brands of Wolffangs now. There's Wolffangs by Freedom Brand, there's Wolffangs by WCP. There are High Desert Spears by No BS. They're all pretty much the exact same thing. The only thing you have to watch is whoever you buy your Wolffangs off of, you have to buy your stake driver off of them too, because not all Wolffangs fit in every stake driver. Berkshires, as far as I know, there's only one company that makes Berkshires. The only thing on Berkshires is there's multiple kinds. There's the disposable Berkshires, there's heavy-duty Berkshires, and then there's soft soil Berkshires.
Huge.
Yeah, they're real big. I've ran both of these for forever, basically since the day they came out. I've ran both of them. I don't think that one is better than the other. The only thing that I do like more about Wolffangs is with Berkshires, if you run them a bunch, the head that the tip of your stake driver goes into can get kind of wacky. But you can bend the right back.
You can bend them back, but they also will break off.
Yeah.
I've got a few of them around here that's broke off.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that you need to use one more than the other because I literally run both of them.
And they're not that much different in price. So.
No, they're really not. So those two, I think, really come down to preference. I don't know what you're trapping for, but I can promise you this. If you're trapping on the East Coast and you're in good dirt, there is nothing that's going to pull either one of these out. I've never have lost a trap.
I mean, it just depends on, if you're trapping a riverbank or, just you might need a little longer stake.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that's going to matter.
Yeah, like for example, whenever we go out, if you've watched any of our trapping videos, all of our rat traps that we use, most people just took it on tobacco stick and then they would stake it to the bank. That's way faster, and yes, we're all about speed, but we have caught coons and beavers in our rat sets. And if you put in a tobacco stake with a rat set, your trap's going to be gone.
Yeah.
So we typically run 24-inch stakes with Berkshires on our rat sets. Yes, it absolutely sucks pulling them out of the ground. Yes, we should have more than 2 brain cells and use the disposable ones. But even with the disposable ones, they're still hard to get out of the ground. So one thing that these all have in common, one way more than the others, is that none of these are going to be easy to get out of the ground, but they make stake pullers. So if you one thing I'm going to recommend, if you're going to run any of these 3, you need to get a stake puller.
And if you're like on the riverbank like he is a lot, you probably want a T-handle.
Yep.
That way, because a lot of your other ones, they just take a big horseshoe, and I don't see where they're going to catch in the mud very good unless you put something down and then put it on it. But
do you have your stake puller in here? I've got mine at the house. Yeah, there you go. There's an actual example. So if you're pulling stakes out of mud, you need something that has a good surface area so that your stake puller does not dig into the dirt, because then you're not getting your stake out of the ground. If you're land trapping, and you're in rocky soil or it's not muddy outside, it doesn't really matter. But whenever we're out in the river, you need something that's got that surface area.
Then you get you, I think it's maybe a 4-foot handle or so. And we had to reinforce it a little bit because it wasn't to bend.
Yeah, so I mean, and we didn't even buy that. Adam made him one, and he made me one.
Well, one of my buddy made that for me. I ain't gonna take credit for it. It was in my head, and he made it.
Yeah, but all that matters is that we got them, and they work.
That's all that matters.
They work. The next one we're going to talk about, and me and Adam might have different opinions, but I will not use these. I used them once. I'll never use them again. Are the Fox Hollows. Now, I'm not saying I won't use them because they're not good. They're great. They're actually technically the best.
The problem is they're the best because if you don't have one of these pullers,
it's not coming out.
I broke chain trying to pull one out with my side-by-side. I broke the chain, number 2 chain. I broke the freaking chain. You couldn't get it out.
Yeah, so it's not like just emphasizing. We don't hate them because they're not good. Yeah. We hate them because they're too good.
Too good.
I don't know where you're trapping at. Test your soil around where you live. But here in the beautiful state of West Virginia, we have red clay. And guess what? Red clay does not care it's not going to give you your steak back easy. So that's why I don't run them.
I've also been in ground hard enough to where these things wouldn't even set sideways.
Really?
They wouldn't even turn sideways. They pulled it right back up out of the hole.
Yeah.
After I drove it right in, it's freaking wild. I've never seen nothing like it.
Yeah. So one thing I am going to add about the Fox Hollows, though, if you do run Fox Hollows and you don't know this, you need to run chain. If you run cable with Fox Hollows,
you might as well just forget them.
Yeah, you might as well just take a J-hook tool with you and leave it there, because you're not getting, you're going to break your cable 3 out of 4 times.
Guaranteed.
So, and I think the ones with chain are actually called super steaks. Super steaks.
I've got maybe a dozen of them that I bought just to kind of get an idea, and then I also bought the tips and made my own. But I used also, there's another thing you need to think of. I used number 3 chain, and I had I used the Mighty S hooks, and they were all welded up. And you got to think, when you're driving them in the ground, that big number 3 chain don't like to fit down in there very good. So it goes up against your driver and makes it very hard to get your driver back out. So number 2 chain is definitely recommended on that.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, on these 3 earth anchors, you can use whatever you want. It's really going to come down to where in the country you live, what kind of dirt that you got. Just test them. I mean, we've used all of them. Both of us have used every single one of these. And I like all of them because they're all great designs and they all work. Some of them are just easier to get out of the ground than others.
Just depending on how much you like your bag.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a puller.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're young like me, it don't really matter. But one day it will. So
it sucks. It always pops in between my shoulder blades, and I'm down for a while.
But so I'm gonna be quiet for just a little bit because I have never ran any of these. I've never used drags. Adam is the drag guy. You use them mainly for canines and cats.
I use them for about everything now.
Yeah. So
I don't. If I can get away from driving a stake in the ground, I will not. I didn't even drive one stake in the ground last year at all, I don't think.
So we'll go ahead and we'll start with the saber-tooth drags. You can talk about those compared to the one, the more generic one. Yeah. Give your opinion on both of them.
And they make several different kinds. I just don't go out and buy these just because I tell you, because I can't even name all the ones that they make. They got homemade ones. I mean, you can make them out of about anything. Anything that's going to catch brush. A buddy of mine set me on these, just drags in general, and I will never go back.
So what is the main reason that you use drags over earth anchors?
Because I don't have to drive them in. Like, at the end of the day, at the end of your setting, you don't have to sit around pulling stuff or nothing. You just go out there, you unhook it off whatever you hook it on, if you hook it on something at all. Wrap the chain up. Throw it in the back of side-to-side full-wheel or whatever. This is another thing. You got to think about your weight. If you got a trap from a buggy, a full-wheeler, these are great. But you don't want to carry around very many of these.
Because how much do you think of those saber-tooths weigh a piece?
I don't know. They're made out of half-inch steel, so...
I mean, they're probably at least a couple pounds a piece.
Oh, I'd say a couple pounds. I mean, I have a video on my phone. I tied one of these to my child's leg and told him to run through the yard just to see how it did. And he made it to the end of the chain, drug it about this far, and it sunk in the ground, and he fell to the ground. So they do work. They work great just out in the open. But, I mean, you can track them pretty easy. I mean, I don't know so much about frozen ground or nothing, but usually everywhere that I trap, there's a lot of brush. I just take it back here, and I just hook it on some little tiny saplings like that, and I've never had a coyote, a bobcat, or nothing go within the length of the chain. So... And the plus all this stuff is like after you get done catching a coyote or a cat, fox, you can take that trap, you can set it right back in the same hole. Your bait hole's still there, it's not all wallered out. You ain't got this big nasty catch circle, he's back here in the brush tied up. You just set it right back in the same hole. You don't even have to rebait or nothing most times. So usually when they get snapped, they take off, they don't sit around and fool around trying to get your bait out or anything.
So just one thing that I'll add, and I'll let you elaborate on this. There's obviously a massive price difference between a saber-tooth drag. And what would you call that drag? You said you got that off Murray's.
I got it off a friend, but Murray's does sell these. This is one of your budget trapping deals because you could probably just use like 1/8-inch cable or something. May not even need 1/8-inch cable. But I don't see how this one's going to dig into the ground very well, but if you're just trapping around brush, I don't see where it would hurt at all.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're trapping in an open flat, that's the main thing with the saber-tooth drags. They're sharp. They've got a heck of a point on them. They're going to catch on anything. If you're trapping somewhere where there's brush, you think if either one of them is going to work just fine.
But if you like to go fast, these are much better to use. You don't have to you don't even really have to carry much of a hammer other than something to dig a hole with. And that's it.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty simple. These are all the ones that we use. The reason that we use them, like I said, I've never used drags. And it's not because I don't like them. It's probably just because I never have.
They're expensive. I mean, these are probably almost $10 a piece. So versus $30 or $40 a dozen, I think. Don't quote me on that. You just have to go look at that. But and then depending on if you run chain or whatever, and pricing a chain. So everything's a factor.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can use any of these. It depends on where you live, what you're going after, what your preferences are. And that's coming off of someone who uses drive-in stakes and someone who uses drags. Obviously, he uses both. It just depends on where we're at and what we're doing.
It just depends.
Yeah, so we are not telling you to buy any individual one of these. These are just the ones we use, where we use them, why we use them. Just basic stuff like that. If there's an earth anchor we didn't talk about in this video that you like more than any of these, let us know. I know there's ones we didn't talk about, we discussed. There's the duck bills. There's the old pogo stakes that they used to make.
Yep.
We actually used to run pogo stakes, and I'm going to tell you right now, those things were crap. Those were the only earth anchors I ever ran that I literally just did not like. But I mean, all that it is literally a washer and a J-hook. So I mean, and that's another thing though. If you're literally a budget trapper, like you don't want to spend any money on stakes at all, just if you've got a shed or a garage that you're running out of, if you just pick up some J-hooks, and then I don't know what size the washers were. They were probably like 1.5 inch washers.
I've never even messed with them.
But you can literally make your own. No one hardly uses them anymore. But we did. We used to make them. We used to use them. And that was whenever I was a kid and earth anchors were really just kind of starting to come out. The one thing I will say, all of these are good. And they all have one thing in common. They are all better than rebar. You don't need to use rebar.
I was just getting ready to say, you don't. Rebar's it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you're carrying so much weight.
So much extra weight.
And they don't work halfay as good as any of these.
Coyotes can pump them out of the ground. Of course, coyote pump. I mean, I don't see coyote pumping these out of the ground too much, but just depend on your soil.
Yeah. But I mean,
I test everything before. Like, I just don't drive them in the ground. I set them and everything, make sure I can't pull them out of the ground. If I can't pull them out of the ground, ain't nothing gonna pull them out of the ground.
Exactly.
I put 200+ pounds on that thing pulling. Just leaning back, they ain't coming out. Sorry. Everybody says coyotes, they're this, that. They're strong, but they're not what people think.
So yeah, so if you use any of these, we're not saying that you should switch to anything unless you're using rebar. Then you should seriously, please, just do yourself a favor and switch to something else.
I've caught a 41-pound coyote on these here, and he didn't get it. He didn't budget. Because I used to drive him clear into the swivel, and he never even got it to budge. So,
but no, like we were saying, if you guys have any earth anchors that we didn't mention, didn't show in the video, and you think that they're better, let us know. If you know of a place that sells drags that are the same quality as Saber-tooth, but they're cheaper, let Adam know.
Let me know.
Yeah, because he'll buy them.
I'm getting ready to buy more.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, we appreciate you guys coming out. If you have any questions or any other episodes you'd like to see in the future, like I mentioned, this is something that was asked for by a viewer. That's why we made it. So I appreciate that request. Any questions, let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. We're trying to hit that 500 mark. We're growing a lot faster than what I thought that we would, which is amazing. But at the end of the day, we appreciate you coming out. Make sure you have a good one. See ya.